I watched in absolute horror as the HOA president grabbed my 7-year-old autistic daughter by both arms and physically threw her off the neighborhood bridge into the creek below. The 12-foot drop happened so fast that I barely had time to scream. What this entitled woman didn't know: I'm a county sheriff with 20 years on the force. And what she just did wasn't just cruel, it was a felony. The look on her face when she found out who I was. That's coming later, and trust me, you're not gonna want to miss it. Before we get into this absolutely insane story, smash that like button right now because you won't believe where this goes. Drop a comment telling me how you would have handled this situation, and subscribe because we're diving into a wild ride of justice that'll have you on the edge of your seat. Let me set the scene for you. This happened in Riverside County, California, in one of those cookie-cutter HOA communities where every house looks identical and everyone's obsessed with property values. My name's Detective Sarah Mitchell. Yeah, detective, not just deputy. And I've been working undercover for the past 3 months on a major narcotics investigation. That meant plain clothes, beat-up car, and keeping a seriously low profile. Nobody in my new neighborhood had any clue what I did for a living. My daughter Emma is 7 years old and on the autism spectrum. She's high-functioning, incredibly smart, but she has this thing with water. It calms her down. There's this decorative bridge in our community that goes over a shallow creek, and it became Emma's favorite spot. Every evening after her therapy sessions, we'd walk there, and she'd drop leads into the water and watch them float away. Enter Patricia Henderson, 50-something, bleach blonde hair, always wearing those designer tracksuits that cost more than most people's car payments. She was the HOA president and took her authority more seriously than most federal judges. I'm talking measuring grass height with a ruler, timing how long your garage door stays open, and sending violation notices for Christmas decorations being up one day too long. Patricia had it out for me from day one because my lawn wasn't up to her standards while I was working 70-hour weeks, but I never imagined it would come to this. It was a Tuesday evening, about 6:30 p.m., Emma and I were at our usual spot on the bridge. She was humming to herself. She does that when she's happy, and dropping flower petals into the creek. I was standing right beside her, watching her be at peace, which after the day I'd had, was exactly what I needed. That's when I heard those sharp footsteps. The kind of footsteps that just scream I'm about to ruin someone's day. Excuse me, Patricia's shrill voice cut through the peaceful evening. Your child is littering in common area property. I turned around, already exhausted. She's dropping flower petals into a creek. They're biodegradable. I don't care what they are, Patricia snapped, her face already turning that particular shade of red that entitled people get. This is a violation of HOA Rules Section 7, Paragraph 3. No littering in common areas. That'll be a $50 fine. Emma, startled by the yelling, started to rock back and forth, one of her self-soothing behaviors. Ma'am, I said, keeping my voice level the way I'd learned in de-escalation training, she's a child. She's not hurting anything. We'll be done in a few minutes. I don't care if she's the Queen of England. Patricia stepped closer, her finger jabbing toward Emma. Rules are rules. And frankly, if she can't follow them, she shouldn't be using community amenities. That's when my protective mama bear instincts kicked into overdrive. Back up, right now, don't point at my daughter. But here's what I didn't know yet. This was just Patricia warming up. The real nightmare was about to begin. Patricia's eyes narrowed, and she got this nasty smirk on her face. Oh, I see what this is. You think because your daughter has ... issues, that the rules don't apply to you. Let me tell you something, sweetheart. I don't care what's wrong with her. In this community, everyone follows the same rules. My hands balled into fists. In my line of work, I'd dealt with drug dealers, murderers, and the absolute worst humanity had to offer. But nothing, and I mean nothing, makes my blood boil like someone coming after my kid. Choose your next words very carefully, I said, my voice dropping into what my colleagues call my interrogation tone. Emma, overwhelmed by the confrontation, started making small distressed noises. She grabbed onto my leg, which is what she does when she's getting overstimulated. Oh, for God's sake, Patricia threw her hands up. See? This is exactly what I'm talking about. She's disturbing the peace. There are no ordinances. She's 7 years old. You absolute. I caught myself. Stay professional, Sarah, we're leaving. This conversation is over. I bent down to pick up Emma, who was now starting to cry. But Patricia wasn't done, not even close. You know what your problem is? Patricia stepped even closer, invading my space. You're one of those mothers who thinks the whole world should bend over backward because your kid isn't normal. Well, guess what? The rest of us have property values to protect. Do you know how much houses depreciate when people find out there are kids like that in the neighborhood? I straightened up slowly. 20 years of training told me to walk away. But every fiber of my being as a mother wanted to educate this woman on exactly how out of line she was. Walk away, I said to myself as much as to her. Come on, Emma. That's when Patricia made the worst decision of her life. As I turned to leave with Emma, Patricia reached out and grabbed my daughter's arm. No, you're not leaving until we settle this fine. I'm tired of people like you thinking rules don't apply. Get your hands off my daughter. Now, I used my command was, the one that makes grown men comply during arrests. But Patricia, in her infinite entitlement, yanked Emma toward her. My daughter screamed. And then, because Emma pulled away instinctively, Patricia pushed her hard. Emma stumbled backward, hit the bridge railing, flipped over it, and fell 12 feet down into the creek. To splash, to scream, the sight of my baby hitting the water. Everything went into slow motion, but what Patricia didn't know was that she'd just assaulted a minor in front of a sworn law enforcement officer. And what happened next? She never saw it coming. Listen, if you're not subscribed yet, do it right now because what happens next is absolutely bonkers. Drop a comment if you think Patricia deserves what's coming to her. And hit that like button if you're Team Emma all the way. Now let's get to the good part. I vaulted over that bridge rail faster than I've ever moved in my life. The water was only about 3 feet deep, but Emma was face down, screaming, completely disoriented. I grabbed her, checked for injuries, thank God, just scrapes and bruises, and held her while she sobbed into my shoulder. Above me, Patricia was already spinning her story. You all saw that. She fell. The child was being reckless. This is exactly why children shouldn't be unsupervised near. I'm calling the police, someone shouted. That was my neighbor Marcus, who'd apparently witnessed the whole thing. Yes, please do, I called up, my voice deadly calm, as I climbed out of the creek with Emma. Call them right now. Patricia scoffed. Oh please, like they're going to do anything. It was clearly an accident. The child lost her balance. I set Emma down, checked her over one more time. Scrapes on her arms, a bump forming on her head, completely traumatized but nothing broken. Then I looked up at Patricia, and I let her see something in my eyes that made her take a step back. Marcus, I called out, you saw her push Emma, right? Clear as day, Marcus confirmed. Patricia grabbed her arm and shoved her. That's a lie, Patricia shrieked. I was trying to stop her from jumping. If anything, this mother should be reported to CPS for negligence. Tears, or my training kicked in. I pulled out my phone, the beat-up one I used for my cover, and started recording. State your name for the record. I'm not telling you anything. Who do you think you are? Someone who just witnessed you commit child endangerment, battery on a minor, and possibly assault with great bodily injury. I kept my voice professional, detached. Marcus, you got all that on your phone? Every second, Marcus held up his phone. I started recording when I heard the yelling. Patricia's face went white, then red, then purple. You can't record me without my consent. That's illegal in California. Actually, I said, loving every second of this, California is a two-party consent state for private conversations. This is a public space, and there's no reasonable expectation of privacy. Any lawyer will tell you that, but you wouldn't know that, would you, Patricia? A small crowd was gathering now, other neighbors I'd barely spoken to, all holding their phones, all having witnessed at least part of what happened. Everyone, I announced, I need anyone who saw what happened to stay put. The police are on their way, and they'll need statements. This is ridiculous, Patricia sputtered. Over an accident? I'm the HOA president. I have immunity from. Immunity from what? I cut her off. From assaulting children. Yeah, that's not a thing. Not in any HOA bylaw I've ever seen. And trust me, I'm very familiar with the law." The look of confusion on her face was priceless. She had no idea what was coming. "You're probably thinking this is where I reveal who I am, right? Not yet." Because I was about to watch Patricia dig herself into a hole so deep, she'd need a ladder just to see the bottom. The county sheriff's deputies arrived within 8 minutes, one of the benefits of living in the county I work for. I recognized both officers immediately, Deputy Chen and Deputy Rodriguez. Both excellent cops, both knew exactly who I was. Their eyes went wide when they saw me standing there soaking wet with Emma, but I gave them the slightest head shake. "Not yet." "Evening, officers," I said neutrally. "Thank you for responding so quickly." Patricia immediately launched into her version of events. "Officers, thank God you're here. This woman's daughter was being reckless on the bridge, and when I tried to help, she fell. Now she's trying to blame me and harass me with all these recordings." Deputy Chen, bless him, played it perfectly. "Ma'am, we'll need to get everyone's statements. Let's start with you, miss." He looked at me. I gave him a detailed, precise account of exactly what happened, every word, every action, every second of the timeline. The kind of statement that comes from someone who's written approximately 10,000 police reports in their career. Patricia kept interrupting. "That's not what happened. She's lying. I'm the HOA president. I've lived here for 15 years. She just moved in a few months ago." "Ma'am," Deputy Rodriguez said firmly, "you'll get your turn. Please stop interrupting." Then Marcus stepped forward. "Officers, I've got the whole thing on video. You can see Patricia grab the little girl and push her over the railing." "Let me see that video," Patricia demanded, lunging for Marcus's phone. "Step back," Deputy Chen barked, his hand moving toward his duty belt. Patricia froze. Reality was starting to dawn on her, but she still didn't get it. Not completely. Deputy Chen reviewed the video, his expression getting harder with each second. "Ma'am," he said to Patricia, "I'm placing you under arrest for battery and child endangerment." "What?" Patricia's voice hit a pitch that probably annoyed dogs 3 blocks away. "You can't arrest me. Do you know who I am? I'm the HOA president. I have connections. My husband is an attorney. I know the county sheriff personally." Deputy Rodriguez actually had to turn away to hide his smile. "Is that right?" Deputy Chen said. "You know the sheriff?" "Yes. Sheriff Mitchell and I served on a community board together." "I'll have both your badges for this." That's when I couldn't help myself. "Patricia," she whirled on me. "What?" "Sheriff Mitchell is my dad. He retired 3 years ago." I pulled out my badge from my pocket. "Yeah, I carry it even when undercover," and held it up. "I'm Detective Sarah Mitchell, County Sheriff's Department, Narcotics Division. And you just committed felony child abuse against my daughter in front of a sworn peace officer." The silence was deafening. Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. The color drained from her face. Someone in the crowd gasped. Emma, still clinging to me, looked up confused. You're a cop," Patricia whispered. "Detective," I corrected, "and just so we're clear, you know what really grinds my gears? People who think their positions or connections put them above the law." What happened in the next 5 minutes? That's when things got really interesting. Okay, if you're enjoying watching Patricia's world crumble, give this video a like. Comment below with what you think her punishment should be. And make sure you're subscribed because the confrontation is about to get absolutely wild. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. "No, please," Patricia's voice cracked. "I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Can't we just ... I'll drop all the HOA fines. I'll write an apology. Please." I stepped closer, Emma still in my arms. "Patricia, you had multiple chances to walk away. You chose to put your hands on my daughter. You chose to push a 7-year-old autistic child off a bridge. Those weren't mistakes. Those were choices, but I didn't mean." "Yes, you did." My voice was ice cold. "You meant to intimidate. You meant to assert your authority. You meant to punish a child for not meeting your standards. Well, guess what? Now you get to face the consequences." Deputy Chen read her Miranda rights while Deputy Rodriguez cuffed her. The crowd that had gathered was dead silent, everyone recording on their phones. "This isn't fair," Patricia cried out. "I'm not a criminal. I'm a respected member of this community. That's when Mrs. Kowalski, a sweet elderly woman from down the street, spoke up. "Respected Patricia, you've terrorized this neighborhood for years. Last month you threatened to foreclose on my house over a crack in my driveway. You reported my son's car for being too old and decrepit," another neighbor added. "It's a classic he's restoring. You called animal control on my dog for barking once." The floodgates opened. Apparently, I wasn't Patricia's only victim. She'd been ruling this HOA with an iron fist for years, and everyone was terrified of her. "Officers," I said, "before you transport her, I want to add a few more charges to the report." Patricia's eyes went wide. "More charges?" "Oh yeah." I nodded. "We've got the original assault and battery on a minor, child endangerment causing bodily injury, that's a felony, by the way. But we're also adding making terrorist threats against a peace officer's family member, and ... I smiled coldly. "I'm personally going to recommend we investigate HOA fraud based on what these neighbors are describing." "You can't do this," Patricia shrieked. "Actually," I said, "I can, and I am." Here's where things got even better. Remember how I said I'd been working undercover? Well, part of my cover was playing the struggling single mom who couldn't keep up with HOA standards. Patricia had been sending me violation notices weekly, some legitimate, most completely bogus. "Deputy Chen," I said, "Patricia's been harassing me for 3 months with fraudulent HOA violations. I've got every notice she's sent me. We're talking false charges, made-up rules, and what I believe is selective enforcement." "That's not fraud," Patricia protested. "Those are legitimate violations, really." I pulled up my phone, my real work phone this time, and started scrolling. Because I've documented every single one. The notice for my grass being half an inch long, except the HOA bylaws say grass can be between 2 and 4 inches, and mine was measured at 3. The violation for my house number not being reflective enough, except that's not in any HOA rule. The notice for suspicious vehicles visiting my house, those were unmarked police cars for my work. Should I go on? The crowd was eating this up. Phones were recording everything. Patricia's lawyer was going to have a field day trying to defend this. "And here's my personal favorite," I continue. "Last week, you sent me a notice threatening to foreclose on my house for unpaid fines totaling $3,200, except I have proof I pay every legitimate fine. Which means you've been either pocketing money or falsifying records." Patricia went pale. Those were the treasurer handless. "Patricia," Deputy Rodriguez said, "you have the right to remain silent. I'd suggest you use it." But Patricia, true to form, couldn't stop herself. "This is entrapment. You were undercover. You tricked me." I actually laughed at that. "Entrapment?" "Patricia, I didn't trick you into anything. I moved into a neighborhood. You decided, entirely on your own, to harass me and assault my child. That's not entrapment. That's you committing crimes because you thought you were above the law." "I want my lawyer," Patricia finally screamed. "Smart choice," I said, "because trust me, you're gonna need a really good one." Deputy Chen loaded Patricia into the patrol car. She was crying now, mascara running down her face, all that designer makeup smudged. Before they left, I leaned down to the car window. "Patricia, one more thing. That connection you thought you had with the sheriff, that was my dad, and I just called him. He says he has no idea who you are, but he's very interested in meeting you now. Especially after what you did to his granddaughter." The look of pure horror on her face, that was worth every second of the 3 months of harassment I endured. As the patrol car pulled away, the crowd actually applauded. Several neighbors came up to me, apologizing for not speaking up sooner about Patricia's behavior. "Don't worry," I assured them, "this isn't over, not by a long shot." Because what I hadn't told them yet was that I'd been documenting everything Patricia did from a law enforcement perspective. Every violation notice, every threatening email, every penny she collected. And when I ran the numbers that night, let's just say Patricia's problems were about to get a whole lot bigger. The next 24 hours were a whirlwind. First, I took Emma to the emergency room, standard procedure for any fall from height. Miraculously, she only had bruises and scrapes. The doctor said it was lucky the water broke her fall, and lucky she's a resilient kid. The hospital documented everything, which would be crucial for the case. Emma was traumatized, though. She wouldn't sleep alone that night, and she kept asking me if the mean lady was going to come back. Breaking my heart, that's an understatement. Meanwhile, the HOA was imploding. Turns out, when your president gets arrested on camera for assaulting a child, people start asking questions. The HOA board called an emergency meeting without Patricia and asked me to attend. I showed up with 3 years' worth of HOA financial records that I'd subpoenaed through proper legal channels. See, once Patricia was arrested, I had probable cause to investigate her for official misconduct and fraud. Ladies and gentlemen, I laid out spreadsheet after spreadsheet. Your HOA president has been embezzling community funds for at least 3 years. We're talking about approximately $127,000 unaccounted expenses, falsified vendor invoices, and outright theft. The board members looked like they'd been hit by a truck, but that's not all, I continued. She's been selectively enforcing rules to target people she doesn't like, falsifying violation notices, and charging illegal fines. Under California law, HOAs have to follow specific procedures. Patricia violated those procedures hundreds of times. One board member raised his hand shakily. "What does this mean for the HOA?" "It means you need a lawyer," I said bluntly. "It means every homeowner who paid fraudulent fines is entitled to reimbursement. And it means this HOA is about to be sued into oblivion if you don't get ahead of this." I wasn't trying to destroy the HOA. Most of my neighbors were good people. But Patricia had turned it into her personal fiefdom, and that needed to end. Fast forward 6 weeks, the legal process moves slow, but when it moves, it moves. Patricia Henderson was formally charged with felony child abuse, felony child endangerment causing bodily injury, assault and battery on a minor, embezzlement 72 counts, grand theft, fraud. Her attorney tried to negotiate a plea deal. The DA's office, with my full support, told them to kick rocks. See, here's the thing about being a cop. We take crimes against children seriously. Like, really seriously. And when you assault a cop's kid, even if you didn't know they were a cop's kid, the entire department rallies. My captain, bless him, assigned the financial crimes unit to Patricia's case. They found even more embezzlement than I did. Turns out Patricia had been living large off HOA funds, designer clothes, spa trips, even a vacation home in Palm Springs that was somehow HOA property that only she used. The HOA hired a forensic accountant. The total theft, nearly $400,000 over 5 years. Patricia's husband, that attorney she was so proud of, he filed for divorce within a week of her arrest. Apparently, he had no idea about the embezzlement and wanted nothing to do with the scandal. At the preliminary hearing, Patricia's attorney tried to argue that her actions on the bridge were accidental and that she was being railroaded by an angry cop. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Judge Rodriguez who'd seen everything in her 30 years on the bench, actually laughed at that argument. "Counsel," Judge Rodriguez said, "I've reviewed the video evidence. Your client grabbed a 7-year-old child, then pushed her off a bridge. That's not an accident, that's assault. Motion denied." "We're going to trial," Patricia tried to speak out. "Your Honor, if I could just explain." "Mrs. Henderson," the judge cut her off, "I strongly advise you to let your attorney speak for you. Because every time you open your mouth, you make your situation worse." The trial was set for months out, but here's the beautiful part. Patricia couldn't make bail. The judge set it at $500,000 based on the severity of charges and the financial crimes. Patricia's assets were frozen pending the investigation. Her husband wasn't helping. She sat in county jail. Meanwhile, I got Emma into trauma therapy. It took weeks, but gradually she started smiling again. We found a new spot by a different creek, nowhere near that bridge, and she slowly regained her confidence. The HOA, they dissolved Patricia's reign of terror. New board, new bylaws, new treasurer with actual financial oversight. They set up a reimbursement fund for anyone who'd been charged illegal fines. Several neighbors told me, felt like the whole community could finally breathe. As for the criminal charges, Patricia's trial lasted 3 days. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours, guilty on all counts. At sentencing, The judge gave Patricia 8 years in state prison for the assault and child abuse charges, plus additional time for the embezzlement. Total sentence, 15 years, with possibility of parole after 10. I was there in the courtroom when the sentence came down. Patricia looked at me one last time, and you know what? I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel vindication. I just felt tired. And grateful that Emma was safe. As we left the courthouse, Emma tugged on my hand. "Mommy, is the mean lady going to come back?" "No, baby," I said, picking her up. "She's not going to bother us ever again." "Good," Emma said simply. Then she smiled. That pure, innocent smile that makes everything worth it, and said, "Can we get ice cream?" And that, right there, was the real victory. Not Patricia going to prison, not the justice system working, but my daughter feeling safe enough to ask for ice cream. If this story had you on the edge of your seat, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Drop a comment telling me if you think Patricia's sentence was fair or if it should have been longer. And give this video a like if you believe in standing up to bullies, no matter who they are. You know, I've been a cop for 20 years. I've seen the absolute worst of humanity. Dealers who sell to kids, abusers who hurt the vulnerable, criminals who prey on the weak. But I've also seen the best, communities that rally together, neighbors who stand up for what's right, and justice systems that actually work when good people don't stay silent. Patricia thought her position gave her power. She thought being HOA president meant she could treat people however she wanted. She thought nobody would stand up to her. She was wrong. The real lesson here isn't about me being a cop. It's about the fact that we all have power. The power to document, to speak up, to demand accountability. Marcus and those other neighbors, they didn't know I was a detective when they started recording. They just knew what Patricia did was wrong. That's what makes the difference, not badges or titles. But people who refuse to accept bullying and abuse as normal. Emma's doing great now, by the way. She still loves water, and we found new spots for her to enjoy. She's resilient in a way that constantly amazes me. Kids are like that. They bounce back when they feel safe and loved. As for me, I finished my undercover case, we took down a major drug operation, and I moved to a different neighborhood. One without an HOA. Thank you very much. If you made it this far, first of all, thank you for listening to my story. Second, I need you to do something for me. If you see someone being bullied, whether it's a kid at school, a neighbor being harassed, or anyone being targeted by someone who thinks they have power, speak up. Record it if you can. Report it. Don't let bullies win through silence. Hit that subscribe button if you want more true stories about justice being served. Check out the videos I'm going to link in the description about HOA abuse and legal rights. And share this video with anyone who needs to hear that standing up to bullies is always worth it. Drop a comment telling me your worst HOA or Karen encounter. I read every single one. And who knows, maybe your story will be featured next. This is Detective Sarah Mitchell, reminding you that badges don't make heroes, standing up for what's right does. Emma and I are doing great, living our best life without HOA drama. Patricia, she's got about 9 more years to think about why pushing a 7-year-old off a bridge was a spectacularly terrible idea. To everyone dealing with an HOA Karen, a workplace bully, or any entitled person who thinks they're above consequences, document everything, know your rights, and never be afraid to stand up for yourself or others. Thanks for watching, and remember, karma's only a bitch if you are. Peace out.